Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the Nourish and Strengthen podcast. I'm so excited for our guest today because it is one of our amazing Moxie coaches, Jaynee. Hi, Jaynee. How are you doing?
Hi, good.
Good. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you. I love telling Jaynee's story because she is unique a little bit in the fact that you didn't start your fitness journey until you were in your 40s, right?
No, I was 44.
And I love that. I love that because I feel like so often people think, oh, these coaches have been doing this forever, so it's easier for them or something like that. But that's not the case for you, right?
No, I had stepped foot in a gym, but it was more like to go get on a treadmill
Yeah.
or like stuff like that, but never to like go in and lift weights. So no,
Oh,
not until
okay.
I was 44.
Wow. So I want to ask you, and this is a question we didn't talk about, but I want to ask you later how that felt getting started when you were 44. Like if you felt kind of uncomfortable going into the gym, but let's just back up. So when and why did you start? I know you were 44, but tell me that where you were at in your life that made you want to get started on your fitness journey.
You know, I had tried all of the things. I was one of those girls that had done everything. I feel like if there was a program out there, I had tried it. But now I know that there's like a million other programs I hadn't tried. But still in my mind, I was like, I've tried everything. I've done everything. Nothing works for me. And I was in that mindset of, I'm just not cut out to be a lean person. I'm not cut out to be someone who exercises. It just wasn't who I was or who I identified with. And it wasn't until 2017 that I hit my highest weight. And I remember that day stepping on the scale and being like, this is the highest I've ever weighed, and I don't want to be here anymore. And from that point, it kind of transitioned to us trying to go to the gym. And I don't know if you want me to transition there now, but I'll
Yeah,
just kind
let's do
of
it. Let's do it.
talk about it. So that fall, well, that through that summer, I tried to kind of diet. And
Mhm.
by that, I was like, I had heard of MyFitnessPal. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe if I learn how to track my food, I'll start there. So I went in and set my calories. Oh, it told me 1,200 calories. And
Of
I,
course, it always
yeah,
does.
yeah. So trying to hit 1,200 calories a day, but I had no idea how much I was really eating because I wasn't tracking, like weighing or measuring anything. I was just like putting food in that I was eating, but really
Mhm.
wasn't tracking accurately. So really still had no idea how much I was eating. But I did lose a little bit of weight over that summer, like maybe 3 to 4 pounds, a little.
Mhm.
That fall, my husband and I got a membership to a gym, and it took me a couple of weeks to go. He started going with our brother-in-law, and they would go in the mornings together. And finally, a couple of weeks in, I got up enough courage to go.
You were just
And
nervous, is that
I
right?
was nervous, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, well, I had had knee surgery. I had torn my ACL. So I'd gone through physical therapy, and I was like, well, I'll just go back and use some of the machines that I used during my rehab.
Yeah.
And I'll just start there, and I can go walk on the treadmill. So I drive to the gym, I walk in, and our gym is 2 levels. So on the first level is like where all the bros lift. It's like
Yeah.
where all the squat racks are and like the rows of dumbbells and the plate loaded machines, and then all the
Mhm.
other machines are down there. I walk in and I was so completely overwhelmed. Like I just kind of looked around and like I have no idea what to do with any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I walked upstairs where like it feels a little less intimidating
Yeah,
up there
sure.
to me. So like that's where the treadmills are and the
Mhm.
ellipticals and the bikes, and there's a few more like uh, dumbbells and cable machines up there. So I went up there and I'm like, okay, this feels a little less intimidating.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to start on the treadmill. So I go to the treadmill and I'm like, I don't even know how to turn this machine on. Like, I don't even know what to do
Oh,
with it.
yeah.
So I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. So I walked back downstairs, got in my car, went home. I was gone from
Oh,
my house like 15 minutes, seriously. I
and that
walk in,
was the first time.
that was the first time. My husband's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing here? Are you okay? Did something like, what's wrong? Why are you back so soon? And I burst into tears. I'm like,
Oh,
I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm doing there. Like, it was so overwhelming to me. And he's like, we'll go together tomorrow. I'll go with you and I'll show you what to do. And for the next 7 or 8 months, we went together, and I would just do whatever workout he was doing. And
yeah.
that's how I started to feel comfortable there, was just kind of following him around. And we did that for about 7 months. And over that time, I lost maybe another 3 to 4 pounds, like
Yeah.
nothing substantial. And I told him, if I don't start seeing some real progress and some real change, like I'm gonna quit. Like I can't
Hmm.
keep doing this. This is hard. This is
Yeah.
frustrating, and I don't know. Anyway, so that's where you came into my life.
So
That's
how? I don't even remember.
well, so
I know
Summer,
Summer. Yes, Summer
yeah,
because it was Summer working with me at the time.
she had been. I don't know that she was working with you right then, but
Okay.
she had hired you as a coach a few months before and
Yeah,
had been
for our
working with you.
listeners, Summer is a coach who she used to work for us. She's Jaynee's sister-in-law, and she was a past client of mine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually, our husbands are in business together. They own a business
Hmm.
together. And we took a business trip to Hawaii in this, like the early 2018.
Okay.
And um, that was a hard trip for me. Looking back on the
Mhm.
pictures, it's hard to look at those pictures and see where I was. And she, of course, was very lean, and so is Chad. And it was just such a contrast. And I thought, I don't want to take another trip and walk away with pictures feeling like this.
Yeah.
And so just got talking to her, and she brought you up and said, here's what I learned from Lindsay. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna reach out and see what I can do. I'd never done anything like that before.
Hmm.
And it really changed everything for me.
So what do you think changed everything for you? Like what aspect was it? The accountability of coaching or learning to track your macros? Like what changed everything?
It was learning to track macros. Like I had tried
Yeah.
so many things in the past, food related, but it didn't click. It didn't click in my
Hmm.
head that I needed protein. It didn't click in my head what it meant to
Mm.
control calories. It didn't click in my head what it meant to like weigh and measure a serving size. I had no serving size was whatever I scooped onto my plate. That was a serving size.
Right,
And
right.
learning what that meant to weigh out a serving size and really eat within a set calorie range, it changed everything for me.
Yeah, interesting. So let's talk more about that. So when you learned to track macros, what was your biggest struggle, or did you have a hard time wrapping your head around it, or was it just pretty intuitive and easy for you?
Um, I think the challenge was I went into it kind of with a preconceived idea of what my food needed to look like. If
Oh,
I
and what
wanted,
was that?
like, well, at the time that I hired you, you were in the middle of all of your prepping for
Okay,
shows.
so I
So
probably
you,
played, I was a negative influence, probably.
but, but only in
You were
my,
probably like chicken and broccoli and rice.
right. That's what I
Yes.
thought. Like, and like bland, everything needed to be plain and bland and
Yeah, yes.
no dessert and no, nothing
Yeah,
good.
we've
Like
come a long way for
we
sure.
have for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, but learning that I didn't have to eat that way. I went into
Hmm.
it thinking my food needed to look like your food, or I
Yeah,
needed to eat the way in my mind, you would eat.
like diet
Um,
foods kind of thing.
Diet foods. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And also this thought that if I want to make these drastic changes in my body, I'm going to have to make drastic changes to how I eat. And
Mm.
so that's the approach that I took. I really have to just switch everything on its head to make this
Hmm.
work. And the truth is that, and what I learned along the way is that it's not big changes, it's little changes that you have to make. Because what I do is like, it's ingrained in me. It's just what I do. And I have to make small changes to those things in order for them to stick long enough to make the progress that I want to see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So when you started, what was your biggest struggle with tracking? Was it like the weighing out or like the time it took? What did you struggle with, if anything?
I think some of it was the time that it took. Those first few, like 2 to 3 weeks, felt a little bit
Hmm.
overwhelming. And like all I was thinking about was food and what I was going
Yeah.
to eat next and how I was going to get enough protein. Um, Getting enough protein was really challenging in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't take very long to figure out a good system. And in the beginning, I would track everything in my fitness pal, but I would also like hand write everything out because
Mm-hmm.
then it just kind of reinforced in my brain how much I was eating, what I had left to eat. And it just helped with my planning. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
And some of us, like, we're not 30 years old. We live in like the handwritten age, kind of,
right.
right?
That's my
I
brain.
still write I still write things down too.
Yeah.
Even though we have apps for everything, I like to handwrite stuff. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
It just makes some kind of connection with my brain to write
Yes.
it and see it. And
Yeah.
that's what it did
100.
with macros.
100%. So, talk to me about cooking because you are a good cook. And what we haven't said yet on this podcast is you are the main author behind Simply Macros. So, I want to go into that. Simply Macros is our cookbook, our macro friendly, simple recipe, delicious cookbook. Talk to me about kind of how you're a cook. I don't know if you call yourself like a chef or whatever, but you like to cook, right? You're a hobby cook. I don't know what you call yourself. But how did that come about?
Well, I don't know that I'm so much a good cook as I just like to eat good food. And so
Okay, sure. You're a foodie. Let's say that.
I am a foodie. I love good food. And during that time, there were all of these recipes or meals that I had cooked for years and years and years that I still wanted to enjoy. And I had to figure out how to adjust what I had done in the past to fit what I was doing now. Instead of recreating all of my meals, or coming up with new things to eat, a new way of eating, I just kind of tweaked what we had been doing all along. And I think that that's really where our cookbooks kind of started from, was just taking old recipes that I had and creating some new recipes along the way, and really trying to figure out if there's something that I want to eat, how can I eat that and make it fit into or how can I prepare it and make it fit in to my goals for the day, or my calories and my protein for the day. And that's really where all of that started from.
Yeah.
And from there, like, I really just wanted to share all that I had learned. I feel like, I don't know, being in that place where I had been 40 to 45 pounds overweight and trying everything and not being able to lose it, I just knew that feeling so well. And I knew that there were other women that struggled with that same feeling, and just this overwhelming desire to share with them that it's not as hard as we make it out in our heads to be sometimes. Like, there's an easier way to go about losing weight than it goes back to that whole, it has to be, if I'm going to lose this weight, it has to be super complicated. And that's just, it's not true. So
yeah,
also that was my way of sharing, okay, here's what I've learned about how to feed myself and have my body drop the fat that it's been holding on for decades. Like this, it was my way to go about sharing that.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember the day you came to me and you were like, hey, I would love to put together a cookbook, but I don't have anyone to sell it to. Yeah. And I was like, I would love to sell a cookbook, but I don't have the time or have the recipe knowledge and stuff that you have. And so that's where Simply Macros was born, right?
We make a good team. And
yes.
Also, Summer at that time was working as a coach for you, and she saw a real need for her clients to have something that they could turn to and look at. And she talked to me a lot about that before I even got up the courage to approach you about it. So
oh, really? I don't even know if I knew that. That's awesome. And it is. It's such a great tool for our clients. They get one copy of it in their welcome gift. And then we do sell it on the website. So I will link that in the show notes. It's an incredible book, full color pictures for every single recipe. And they're so simple. They're amazing. We have little notes in there. It's so, so good. So I'm going to link that. You can do a print version or a digital download, either one. So we'll put that in the show notes. So let's see, how do you think that, using Simply Macros or learning how to cook simply, how did that help you? I mean, that might be kind of an obvious question, but how does it help you? How does it help other busy women?
I think sometimes you just need an idea of where to start. And I've thought about my daughter-in-law a lot. She is a full-time employee. She's a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. She's busy. She's also a brand new mom, and she starts her week with planning out her meals. And she says, Jaynee, every week I'm in my Simply Macros cookbook looking for what meals we're going to have for the week. And I think that is one way. It just gives you an idea of where to start. And then you don't have to think super hard about it. You can look at the pictures and be like, that looks good. That looks good. I'm going to have that this week. So it's been, I love hearing that from her. And I'm hoping that there are other women that are doing the same thing.
I'm sure. I mean, I still do it. And I've had the cookbooks for I don't know, what, 5 years? How long?
I think it's been 5 years.
2019. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I still reach for them all the time. So that's awesome. I have a couple questions about, that kind of stemmed from your story that we didn't talk about before, but hopefully it's okay. What tips would you give for someone just starting at the gym? So we're going to kind of go back into your story. Like someone who feels like you did that was so scared to go in, like what would you tell that person?
First, I would say to have a good plan going in. Like I went
Hmm.
in, I had zero plan. And I think that was probably my biggest downfall. So I think having a good plan to follow is really helpful. You know where you're going to start, you know where you're going to go next, you know where you're going to
Yes.
end. And that would have been really helpful. The other is to have a buddy. To
Hmm.
find somebody, even if you have to hire someone to walk you through the gym. Most gyms, you don't even have to hire them. You could just ask for a
Yeah,
tour
they'll give you a
and
little
they,
tour. Hmm.
mhm, and walk you through. But just having someone who's comfortable on their own and then, I don't know,
Yeah,
drawn
kind
on
of
their
tagging along
confidence
with
from me.
them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think the plan thing is huge because, like you said, it's so hard to just go in there and be like, I don't even know what these things do, let
Hmm.
alone how this place is set up or what to do in here or what to do to reach my goals. So, not even like what to do to reach your goals, but just what to even do when you're at the gym. So, having a plan helps so much, which of course we do that for our clients. But if that's not in the cards for you, you can find, we have 30-day programs on our websites. You can find plans online. Just going in with some sort of a plan, I agree, is super, super helpful. And then another one I thought of when you were talking is, getting enough protein is hard. You mentioned it was hard for you in the beginning, and it's so hard for so many women. What tips would you give to help people get enough protein?
To start looking at nutrition labels, start reading
Mhm.
them. Look, and that was something that was new to me is like, oh, even the understanding of basics of what is a carb, what is a fat, what is a protein, like that was foreign to me in the beginning.
Mhm.
And so learning to look at the nutrition labels and be like, oh, this is made up of carbs and fat. Oh, this has
Yeah.
this much protein. And so just looking at nutrition labels and looking for things that have a little bit more protein. You'll find protein in a lot of things that you don't
Mhm.
think in your head. You're like, oh, chicken, fish, beef, like that's protein.
Right. Right.
And really you can find it in grains, beans, some vegetables have some protein in them. Like there's so much that you can pull in other than just meat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love that. Do you think also planning in advance is important
Oh,
in your tracking journey? Like you have to plan in advance,
oh,
right?
you have to. Yes. And I tell my clients all the time, like that's the key to success. You want the secret ingredient to the secret ingredient soup. It's that,
Yeah.
it's the pre-planning and pre-tracking. You have
So
to
what do
have
you
a
tell your
plan
clients to do?
to sit down the night before or the morning
Mhm.
of and plan out each meal that you're going to have. First of all, put it all in your food tracking app so that you can make adjustments ahead of time. If you don't have that roadmap ahead of time, it's going to be so hard to hit that
Mhm.
protein, to have enough calories left over at the end of the day to hit your protein. And nobody wants to be eating 60 to 70 grams of protein at
Oh,
8 o'clock at night. Nobody wants
no.
that.
No.
So in order to get to the place where you have things spread evenly throughout the day, you've got to have that roadmap in place. I also tell them it's a roadmap. That doesn't mean that we have to stick to that plan, but at least you'll
Mhm.
know if lunch has to change, at least you'll know, okay, I still need something that's going to get me about 25 to 30 grams of protein or whatever you had planned for that day. But it's okay to adjust, but you need that plan in place ahead of time, really, to be
Yeah.
successful.
I love that. I mean, I think I've been tracking forever and you have too. I don't I still struggle to hit macros that I'm trying to hit if I don't plan in advance. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's tricky. Yeah, for sure. So I want to finish up with one question, kind of, overarching, like you are one of our coaches and you are an amazing, amazing coach. What is something that you love about coaching, or what is something that you like to focus on with most of your women that you coach?
So I think I'll start with what I love about
Okay.
coaching. I love watching women achieve things that they didn't think that they were capable of
Mhm.
achieving. I think that is an incredible thing to watch and be a part of. Um, and I remember that feeling when I started with you. I really had no idea what I was capable of, and I way undershot how much fat I could lose,
Mhm.
and where I could end up. I way undershot myself, and really surprised myself at what I was able to achieve. And I love watching women experience that same change. I love hearing women talk about none of my clothes in my closet fit me anymore. Like everything's too big. And
Yeah.
I remember that so clearly, what that feeling feels like, to just like be going through my closet, like none of these things fit, and sending it all to Goodwill. And I love that. Also watching women figure out how strong they are and really
Mhm.
experience that change that comes from pushing weight in the gym and going, thinking, starting with those 3 to 5 pound dumbbells and really then recognizing how strong they are, really pushing their own limits of what they think they're capable of, and realizing just how strong they are. I love watching that happen.
I love that. That's awesome.
Sorry, the second question. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Yeah. It was what is something you love to focus on? Like, I don't know. That might be too vague. I don't know.
No, and the thing that comes to mind is learning, walking them through how to take this program, because we kind of provide the framework, but
Mm-hmm.
taking this framework that we give them and making it theirs. And I feel like that's why I had the transformation that I had. You gave me the framework, and then I had to figure out how to kind of tweak it and adjust it and make it something
Yeah.
that
Fit
I
it
could
into your
do.
life.
Yeah, into my life, my schedule, my family, and what I liked, what I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
eat, and how I wanted to eat, all of that. And I really, that's what I really try to do, is help them find what that means for them.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, Jaynee, thank you so much. I'm going to link your social media in the show notes if people want to get a hold of you, and I'll
Great.
link the Simply Macros cookbooks. Is there anything else that we didn't hit on that you wanted to talk about?
No, I just thank you for for giving me this time, and it's fun to talk with you, and
Yes, I know. So fun.
love being part of Moxie. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, and we love having you. Your clients love you. You're amazing. So,
Oh,
all right,
thank you.
Jaynee, thank you so much.
Thanks.